What's up, music fans of the internet? I'm Kevin.
I'm Derek.
And together we are last week's album where we're talking about good music, as we are today. But first, we'll kick things off like we always do, drinking a beer. Cheers, Derek, and everyone at home.
Cheers, Kevin, everyone at home.
And in this episode, we are talking about an album called Rip This by a band called Bass Drum of Death. Don't be too afraid. They're not that death metal, but they are great. A little background for you. They are from Oxford, Mississippi. It's sort of masterminded by John Barrett, who is in charge of vocals and guitar. Formerly, it was kind of just him, and he would hire guns to go out on the road and tour, and he would make the albums by himself. This time around, he's enlisted Len Clark as like a full-time collaborator and band member who plays the drums. And it was actually recorded in a live studio this time, which is also new, in Sonoma County, California, at Prairie Sun Studios, produced by the bassist from Unknown Mortal Orchestra, Jacob Portrait. So there's some background for you. Now let's get into what it sounds like. Derek, what do you think?
Kevin, I think Rip This sounds like beer and sweat-soaked rock and roll that's been getting fresh in a dumpster since the weekend, with fatal percussion.
With what?
Fatal percussion.
I thought you said fetal, which got a little...
Oh! No.
It's funny that you mentioned beer, because I have beer in my sounds like. I think this sounds like punk rock and garage rock challenging each other to shotgun a beer. And couldn't be more appropriate, because here at last week's album, we do like our beer. So with that, let's get into key tracks. Derek, what did you pick as your key track?
Kevin, my key track is Lose My Mind.
Right on. I'm going to go with Route 69, Yeah. So why don't you kick us off? Yours comes first in terms of the album.
Yeah, Lose My Mind starts off with these just high-paced, layered guitar riffs that really kind of just buzz against each other throughout the song. There's driving bass, snare, drum beats. The chorus, the guitar riffs just really go off the deep end. And then at the 2:15 mark, it's kind of cool because one guitar line goes off in a solo, which really kind of highlights the fact that there's at least two guitar riffs going on here. The lyrics are kind of an ode to self-reliance, or possibly in context of the track title, Lose My Mind, refusing mental health services, which is probably more than likely never a good idea. Some examples of this, which kind of going back to the self-reliance, more so refusing medical service. I don't need you to be my brain. I don't need you to tell me when. I don't need your self-restraint. If I leave, what will you do then? Just really high energy, just really, I thought, captured the raw energy of the album here.
Yeah. I like your insistence on finger-pointing, Derek. That's a nice touch.
It felt like, this song has a lot of finger-pointing going on lyrically, so I'm just visually reiterating that. Although it's not necessarily a pointer. Yeah, that's more like it. That's a finger.
Would it be this finger-pointing, maybe?
Yes. So I'm keeping it clean here.
I appreciate that. Let's move on to my key track. It's called Route 69, Yeah, in parentheses. I'm not sure if that's a acknowledgement joke of the 69 here or what's going on. Who knows? You interpret it. But I like the track because it's just this awesome roadhouse jam. There's sludgy guitar hook. There's pounding, clinking pianos, which are kind of a new instrument for Bass Drum of Death here. There's a bleeding guitar solo, which we've come to expect, and clattering drums. And overall, just this sort of jammy, catchy, fun track. A lot of their music is kind of like almost fun, and this is like the first track I've heard where it's just balls to the wall, like having a good time. So that's why I dug it and really appreciate it. And that brings us to best lyric. Derek, what are you going with?
Kevin, my best lyric comes from a song called For Blood, and he says, get rid of my ammo, dime a dozen tobacco, already I'm feeling a violent fiasco. Just a lot of the high energy, kind of raw emotion, and clever wordplay at the same time.
Yeah, I appreciate the rhyming of tobacco. That's a bold move. I dig it. I, however, am going with a line from Black Don't Glow, which I don't know if you noticed, Derek and I are both appropriately wearing black shirts for Bass Drum of Death today in honor. But the line goes, anytime you look, you'll see me trying. Every time I look, you'll see me dying. You can interpret that how you will, but I think it's an interesting play on relationships and seeing yourself through someone else's eyes or seeing yourself as you are. So that's why I liked it. This brings us to overall rating. Derek, what are you giving it?
Kevin, I'm giving this one a 4 out of 5. First impression was, wow, this is really clean. The production gains, really jump right out at you, especially if you're familiar with some of their older stuff. But at the same time, they still managed to really capture the high energy, lo-fi DIY feel that Bass Drum of Death is known for. I didn't think they really ventured on any new ground for them per se, aside from maybe just really rounding out their sound and developing that, which I really liked overall, top to bottom. So giving this one a 4 out of 5.
Right on. Well, we are in agreement, Derek. I'm also going to go with a 4 out of 5. I think they've made good strides. As you mentioned, they're a little bit more polished, a little bit tighter here than they have been on past albums. I also found it to be a little bit more experimental at times. We get a little into glam rock. We get a little acoustic on one track, which is very new for these guys. The vocals are clear, which I appreciate. There's more range and variety in their sound and style. They're experimenting a little bit more, which is nice to hear. And you can even hear some new things in sound effects, which I think are probably due to the producer from Unknown Mortal Orchestra. You get some effects and things on a track like For Blood, for instance. And still got the heavy stuff, which actually is heavier than before, I would say, like Sin Is in 10, and then classic Bass Drum of Death, Left 4 Dead, everything's the same. More of the greatness that is Bass Drum of Death. So there you have it, guys. 8 out of 10 collectively from Derek and I. Means you should definitely check out Rip This. Maybe you should even rip it. Whatever that means. Play it at 11, play it at 12, play it at 13. As high as you can get it. That's what it's meant for. And maybe shotgun a beer while you're at it, or at least drink one. So there you go, guys. Another review from Derek and I here at last week's album where we're talking about good music. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to us here on YouTube, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.